Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today, our guest is Joe Cornwell. Thanks for being on the show, Joe.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Joe, he's at small multifamily properties. He's a buy and hold investor. He's a 16-unit portfolio over 4 properties. He's an Ohio real estate agent, and we want to get into a little bit about how, as a deal sponsor or GPI, we're looking for deals, the relationship with agents, and just how he got into this business and how he's moving into the syndication business. But to get us started, Joe, why don't you give us a little about your background and what led you to real estate?
So I'm a police officer here in the Cincinnati area. Still my full-time job as well as the real estate business. So what kind of initially led me into the real estate business was looking at a lot of the older police officers that I've worked with over the years who, if they were lucky enough to make it to retirement, had, debt, a lot of bills, not necessarily the lifestyle that I wanted, when I got to retirement age. And that was kind of my initial interest in real estate, is to just change my business from just a 401k traditional type retirement to, something with a little bit more options as far as lifestyle. I think real estate gives that opportunity to a lot of people. That was kind of my interest and motivation. As far as my first deal and kind of what really sparked my more specific interest was kind of a live-in flip that I did with my first house, and it wasn't really intentional. But long story short, through fixing it up, selling it for a profit, between the forced appreciation for my own renovations and then the market appreciation, just buying it at the right time, selling it at the right time, I saw the financial gains to be made from real estate, which helped motivate me to where I'm at now.
So you said you were doing a live-in flip, is that right?
Yeah, and again, it wasn't intentional. It was just my first house, single family. I bought it, and I've always been somebody who like to stay busy. That's why I have so many full-time jobs, as we discussed, and I did almost all the work myself. So to get into it and learn the construction, just doing it myself, and then to see the profits at the end, like I said, it really sparked my motivation to dive into real estate full-time.
Nice. So you did the live-in flip, and then what was, I guess, the next real estate transaction, or what was your plans after that?
Yeah, so that kind of helped me define my plans. And again, that wasn't intentional. My first intentional investment was actually a duplex. And that was about a year and a half after I sold my first house. I bought a 2-family. And this initially was, again, to really kind of jumpstart my retirement vehicles instead of just doing a traditional 401k or, in police work, we have a 457B they call it, which is the equivalent of a 401k for a government job. But to really give me something extra, that was kind of my initial goal. And since then, it's transitioned to more of a full-time business and not just a retirement, vehicle.
Yeah. And I can relate to you in a big way. I started in real estate when I was a police officer, and I seen guys that were retiring. I just had a couple of years on at the time when I got started in real estate, as far as in the police, being a police officer. And I seen guys retiring with more than 20, 25 years on, and they weren't even making $40,000, a year. And I knew, okay, I've got to do something else. There's got to be something more, I really enjoyed it, but however, I knew I had to do something else, at least in addition to.
Exactly. And it was the same way for me. I've been a police officer for a few years, and, there were guys working 35, 40, 45 years just to retire comfortably. And I knew that's not something I wanted to do. And at this point, with the real estate businesses that I'm focused on, I probably won't stay in law enforcement permanently. I do still enjoy it. So it's not necessarily because I hate my job or anything like that. It's more of, I think that there's better opportunities financially and certainly lifestyle-wise. We don't really have great hours when it comes to law enforcement. So there's better opportunities in the real estate business.
Yeah. So you bought the duplex, and then do you still own that? And what happened after that?
Yeah. So my strategy for buy and hold is long-term hold. So I started with the duplex, and I really scaled up in the past year and a half or so. This year, I purchased a 6-unit in February. I purchased another 6-unit in July, which was just next to the first one. So that was an off-market deal, kind of fell in my lap. And I'm actually currently purchasing another duplex, which will put my portfolio at 16 total apartments. And so going from, duplex in my first year as an investor to 14 apartments in the second year, it's obviously scaled up pretty quickly.
Yeah. So what's been something that's been really difficult as far as the scaling like that? I mean, that's quite a few units, to buy, in your second year. How did you scale that? What's been something difficult you've had to work through?
Well, the difficulties were definitely the first deal. It wasn't a bad deal, but it was definitely my worst deal. And I kind of did the BRRRR strategy. I'm sure a lot of your listeners have heard about, where I buy it, renovate it, rent it out, and then refinance it. And that's kind of the deals I look for in, even small multifamilies or in larger multifamilies. I look for value add opportunities. So luckily, a lot of my capital that I had put into that first duplex deal, I was able to recycle when I refinanced that. And that really helped me scale into my 6-unit. And then I did a little bit of creative financing on that second 6-unit to help me get that one purchased. And then this duplex I'm purchasing now is actually a really great deal. That's going to be another BRRRR deal where at the end of the day, when I refinance this, I'll walk away with about $5,000 in profit, in addition to having no money left in the deal, and it'll still be cash flowing. So it's really a win-win-win once this one's done.
Great. So, but moving on, from here on out, what's your goal, I guess, moving forward? You bought all these units in the second year. What's next?
Yeah. So my initial goal was 20 units, and I set that goal about 3 years ago. And obviously, I'm getting there a lot faster than I initially anticipated. But from there, as soon as I hit that 20 unit mark, based on the metrics I'm buying, is when I look to really scaling up as far as joint ventures and syndication. And that's, to me, kind of the next logical step that most investors run into, including a lot of my clients. So obviously the benefits of that, in my opinion, and the reason why I buy multifamily even currently, is because I think that economies of scale from having multiple units under one door, the ability to add value in commercial property and, reposition it for, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 in value, even on smaller deals, just gives you so much more power and leverage than you would have on, buying single families.
So what is, I guess, lay out, how are you educating yourself to be able to be confident to move into the syndication business, from doing, a duplex, couple 6 units? What's been your process?
Yeah. So, like I said, about 3 years ago, when I initially knew I wanted to get into buy and hold investing, I just started educating myself in every way possible. I've listened to just about every podcast out there as far as real estate. I've listened to, a lot of audio books. I read a lot of books. And as you can probably see behind me, I got a stack of books here. A lot of those are real estate books. So when I was brand new investor, I pretty much got my PhD, in my opinion, on real estate investing, even in a few short years, because it consumed all of my, free time. And obviously, as police officers, we have a lot of downtime. So, between runs, I'm able to listen to audio books. I'm able to read, and that's one benefit of having the job that I have, where I do have downtime. I can educate myself.
Nice. So what about, moving into the syndication business? Are you, looking for investors now? Are you raising capital now? Are you preparing to do a larger deal?
So one of the benefits, and one thing I can really suggest to any newer investor, is talk about what you're doing. And what I mean by that is, all my renovation projects, again, I said I do value add. So we're doing pretty big construction projects on everything I buy. I take a lot of before and after photos. I talk about the numbers. I talk about the things I'm doing on my Facebook page. And that's primarily how I would say I've drawn, money partners. And it wasn't even an intentional thing. Looking back, I kind of see organically how I was able to attract money partners and potential investors, because I just talk about what I'm doing. So when people see that you're, taking these kind of dumpy apartments and making them beautiful, they want to be a part of it, and through that, I've actually had several people, high net worth people, high income people approach me and say, hey, how can I get on one of these deals that you're doing? How can I do something like that? And again, that wasn't even intentional at the beginning. It wasn't like that was a planned thing. I'm putting this out there. I want to see who would give me money. Nothing like that. It's just strictly telling everybody that you talk to and everybody in your network, what you're doing and how you're doing it. And you're going to naturally attract people like that.
Nice. I want to tell you about an upcoming real estate investing conference hosted by my good friend, Joe Fairless. Every February, Joe brings his best ever conference to Denver, which brings together the top high-level experienced real estate speakers and sponsors that has proven to be the best ever networking, content, and strategies to help grow your portfolio. The earlier you buy, the more you save. Ticket prices increase weekly, so you want to buy today. I attended in 2018, and I can guarantee you do not want to miss this conference. February 22nd and 23rd, 2019 in Denver. Go to besteverconference.com to reserve your seat today. That's besteverconference.com and use hashtag Whitney to save 10%. That's hashtag Whitney. So, tell us, to that person who is kind of in your shoes looking to move into the syndication business, I hear, difference in opinions all the time about, do I start with small multifamily or even single family, then move up? What's really your opinion? Would you do it the way, you've done it again, or would you more focus on syndication right off the bat?
Well, I think that's a little bit different for every single person. With having the full-time jobs, I have a safety net where, if I have a bad deal, I'm going to be okay, right? But I think for us as syndicators or joint venture partners or raising money of any kind for investing, the number one duty we have is to our investors, right? If we're bringing other people's money into our deals, that has to be the utmost sacred and importance that we take care of. So when you start talking about bringing other people into your deals, it's not just about you and your family and your own wealth. It's about the responsibility you have to your investors. So I think that if you are confident and you know what you're doing and you're ready, then you could jump straight into syndicating and joint ventures and things like that. But if you are a new investor and you've never really done anything in real estate and you don't have a major financial background where you can absorb a major mistake or loss, then you have to be very careful when you start getting into syndication.
So when in your career, as far as real estate, or maybe in law enforcement, when did you decide, okay, I want to become an agent?
I knew pretty quick in the buy and hold strategy that I had to be an agent, at least from my own business model, because in Cincinnati, it's a booming market right now. There's, especially in multifamily, if a good deal comes up on the MLS, you have minutes, not hours or days to go look at a property. And I did try to buy a couple of properties prior to getting my real estate license. And, if it takes an agent 2 days to get back to you or 2 days to get you into a property, it's going to be gone. Anything that has a high value add or is priced, under market or even, at market at this point, you just can't wait. So for me and my business, I knew I had to get my license. And initially getting my license, it was strictly to benefit myself. That was kind of the initial plan. But it quickly grew into assisting residential clients. And then, in the past couple of years, it's transitioned more into working with other investors and larger syndication groups.
Nice. So what cons would you say there are as far as, having your license and being an investor also?
Well, I think for everybody, it may be a little different, because if you're not the type of person that, wants to spend a lot of time, researching MLS on your own, analyzing deals, if you don't have any intentions on helping anyone else as far as brokering for other people, there's really not a whole lot of benefit to having it. If you have a really good agent that is going to be on the ball, you can basically have that same benefit without going, spending the time and effort to get your license. And one of the downsides is in some of the other real estate businesses, if you're a wholesaler, if you're somebody that is marketing to motivated sellers, in Ohio, at least, you have to notify them that you're a licensed agent. It's illegal not to. So I don't know if every state's like that, but at least in Ohio, you have a duty to notify a buyer or a seller, that you're trying to buy their property. And if you don't have your license, like a wholesaler, for example, it actually may be a benefit to not have to do extra disclosures without having a license.
So what type of properties are you selling as an agent?
Mainly, like I said, this year it's been a lot of multifamily. So that goes, everything from duplexes all the way up to 99 units.
Okay.
That's the size deals that I've done as a broker. And when I say broker, as an agent, brokering for someone. So, I've been able to experience quite the gamut as far as unit counts and kind of how those deals are structured a little bit differently. But I would say my kind of sweet spot lately has been the mid-size multifamilies, like the 12 to 50 units. And that's just because that's what a lot of people are looking for, at least in my client base, in my market.
Can you give us some pointers as far as the relationship between, the buyer and you as the agent, when you have that, 50 to, let's say, 100 unit property that you're going to sell? What does that relationship look like? Give us some pointers for that new person that, maybe hasn't called a broker yet, and is really hesitant to make that first phone call.
Yeah. So I think one of the main things you can do to set yourself apart from the other buyers or other potential buyers is have all of your stuff planned out, have all your ducks in a row, have all your paperwork together. Because I've had a lot of people who have found me on other real estate websites or, been referred by somebody else, and they call me and they want to find a deal. And the problem is they're not prepared. They don't have, if they're trying to syndicate, they don't have commitments from their other investors that they may have verbal conversations and things like that. And basically the bottom line is the more prepared and serious you are, even if you don't have a big track record, a broker is going to take you more serious. Because if you don't have proof of funds, if you don't have the things that are necessary in this market to compete with other buyers, you're going to lose. And a broker's not going to waste their time with you. And if you find a broker that is going to spend a lot of time with you, they're probably not doing a lot of business because, if they are, then they don't have time. That's just the reality of it.
Yeah. So I guess, could you go in a little more detail as far as how we could be planned better, or, how should we be prepared better? Maybe give us a few more details.
Sure.
If we're brand new, what do we need to bring, when we come or talk to you the first time? What do we need to have ready?
Yeah. I mean, so the initial conversation, you're certainly going to want to know what exactly asset class wise you're looking for, right? You got to have very detailed things. What type of neighborhood do you want to be in? I mean, at least in Cincinnati, it's all pretty well defined, at least where there's multifamily opportunities. So there's not a massive, distinction. Cincinnati is very similar, I guess, throughout the greater Cincinnati area. But you got to know, are you looking for 100 units? Are you looking for, 20 units? Are you looking for B class, C class? You kind of need to know what you're looking for, because the broker's not going to be able to tell you that. They're not going to be able to figure that out for you. Now, they're going to be able to point you in different neighborhoods and directions to kind of show you what's on that market. But you really need to know what you're trying to invest in, and if you're bringing money into the deal from other investors, you need to know what they're comfortable and what they're looking for. And on that note, you need to have your pretty strong commitments from your investors, because you don't want to get down the line of a deal and have it under contract and then not have the money available to close on it. That's probably the most important thing, is to have the funds available from yourself or your other investors so you can close the deal, especially when you're talking about putting up in some of these deals, big, hard money that is going down in an escrow if you're going to lose it if you don't come up with the money. So, and again, as I said, if you're bringing other people's money in, that has to be taken care of with the utmost importance, so you don't lose it.
Are there any red flags that kind of pop out to you when you're talking to somebody that just tells you that, okay, this person's not a serious buyer?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I get calls all the time. People that want to buy 150 units or a higher unit count, and I talk to them about their experience, and even some of these people may have a track record, but they don't have any proof of funds. They don't have any sort of commitment from their investors, and I can tell you right now, at least in Cincinnati, a seller is not going to even look at an offer or an LOI if you don't have a proof of funds. And sometimes I work with buyers and they get offended by that. They're like, well, why would I have to come up with a proof of funds statement or letter, showing that I have, this many hundreds of thousands or this $1 million, whatever it is, when I haven't even seen the property yet? Because you have 25, 30 other people that are looking at that same deal. So, when 20 of them have what they need and you don't, you're already going to lose before you even put an offer in. So
when do you ask for proof of funds from somebody? I mean, just right away, or when is that?
Well, I don't necessarily make them demonstrate proof of funds to me for an initial conversation, but if it gets to the point where they're starting to underwrite deals and they're asking for me to invest my time and efforts into deals with them and for them on their behalf, then I have to know that they're, one, serious, and two, capable of closing the deal.
So Joe, why are you moving, to go back to really your business now? Why are you moving, into the syndication model and not, just going to stay in, just finding another duplex or another sixplex or even start, flipping homes or something like that?
Yeah, for me, it's the same reason why I chose the small multifamilies over single families. Is the same reason why I see the need going forward to scale into larger properties, because at the end of the day, like I said, I have 2 full-time jobs. I don't want to be managing everything on my own for the rest of my life, and to build the economies of scale to sustain maintenance and management into your own portfolio, you have to have economies of scale, meaning higher unit counts. So for me, it makes so much more sense to get a larger property. And the other thing is, when you're dealing with small multifamily, your margins are so much tighter. If you have a roof go out, you have a higher capital expense cost. That is going to eat up such a higher percentage of your profits or cash flow, that a large complex would sustain much easier, right? So again, it's kind of benefits on every level, in my opinion. And the bigger thing for me is, even though I'm able to add value in some of these smaller bird deals, and my 2 6 units is going to be like a $300,000 reposition at the end of the day when they're all renovated and re-rented at the higher rates. And that's all well and great, but when you can do that same exact thing on a 50, 75, 100 unit scale, if you can find similar metrics, it's basically the same amount of work at the end of the day. So, you're talking maybe 10, 20 times the wealth generation. And you can only do that through scaling up.
So Joe, what advice, some maybe key advice that you would give somebody that's also getting into the syndication business?
Well, I think the main thing is, again, you need to be in a position where you're confident. You have to be able to take care of your investors' money. So, if you're not confident, you have no, financial background, and you don't have a real estate background, and you're not in a position to take care of somebody else's funds, then you probably should build your own track record, as I've been doing. And I think once you get to that point where you're ready, you'll know you're ready, and you'll feel ready. And of course, syndicating and bringing funds is an entirely different game. So it's not going to be easy. I don't know any syndicator that I've met with, I'm friends with, or that I've worked with that said their first deal was easy. It's not. It's a lot of work, and there's a lot of things you got to learn to do and do correctly. But I think when you're ready and you're at that point, you kind of just got to take it one step at a time, and you don't have to know everything. And if you find a good broker that works with investors, they're going to be their resource for you to lean on. If you find a good property manager, they're going to be a resource for you to lean on. And you really just got to, kind of, my motto is, what's my next problem to fix? What's right in front of me? What do I need to learn next? What do I need to deal with next? And if you take it one step at a time like that, it's not so overwhelming. Because for a new investor, especially if they've never done any real estate, there's hundreds of thousands of potential variables that you might have to overcome and learn. And you really got to take it one step at a time.
Great. So Joe, would you tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you or learn more about you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I said, if you have any questions about real estate in general, my email is probably the best way. It's jcornwell@realtyonesstop.com. That's all spelled out. So JCORNWELL @realty REALTYONESTOP.com. And if you need any help in the Cincinnati market, if you're looking for an agent in multifamily, I'd be happy to help you with that as well.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Joe. You've been a great guest. I hope the listeners will reach out to him, especially if you're looking in the Cincinnati market. Sounds like he'd be a great contact. But I hope you'll join us on the Facebook group, and I hope you'll connect with me on the website and reach out anytime. You can schedule a call with me on the website. I'm glad to help you and talk to anybody that I can. So reach out, and we will talk to each of you tomorrow.
All right. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.